Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'd like to go over how to make your very own Wind Druid and level it up from normal to hell. It's going to be going over skill points, gear, mercs, and MFing. And keep in mind it's not an end game build, so if you're looking at it like where's the Enigma, where's this, like it's for more for someone just starting out in a new ladder or playing by themselves. Okay, so getting into this, let's start with the skill points. As a druid, you don't actually start wind. The reasoning is looking here, uh, Arctic Blast is it's you're just a vape lord. Honestly, it doesn't actually do anything. So you don't really have any usable skills until Twister, and that's not even really usable. So we start off as fire. What you want to be aiming for is just level them up equally. The reasoning for this is because they're all good for different things. Some people don't like leveling up Molten Boulder, and if you're one of those people, you don't have to. You can leave it at one. But Firestorm is good for when they're really close to you. You know, lots of little people running around, lots of little fallen that you want to take out. Molten Boulder is better for sniping people. It has the boulder exploding does a ton of damage. It's really good too in the maggot layer where druids tend to struggle. And then the last but not least is Fisher. This one, this one it puts everything else on a cooldown, so it's not like oh I'll stack it with the others. Like no, it doesn't really work. Like what it's good for is if you're in say Act 3 and you just see a bunch of fetishes shooting at you behind a river, you can just put that on the ground where they are and it'll take care of it. Or like, you know, archers in Act 1 like the rogues. Like it's really good for that scenario. Um and you just want to like level them up equally, honestly. They're just it's a bunch of tools in your bag you can pull out and it'll fit any scenario you find yourself in. For wind, we do actually put a point into Vape Nation here and then we get one into cyclone armor. The reasoning is it's free health basically. Like it'll absorb a little bit. Heading over to summoning, we do want a doggo. You can get a direwolf if you want. I prefer to save that point for an oak myself. You can just get a dog, and what that does is, like, let's say there's a group of archers shooting at you, and it's like I just wish they would stop for like a nanosecond so I could get to them. Just put the dog in like in the middle of them all, and you can just run up to them, and that dog will distract them. It's also good for dealing with bosses. Like you can just spam the dog a couple times, just get it to stop focusing on you. What I like to do for Oak is as soon as I unlock it, I put 1 point, and then every new act, like if I go to Act 2, I'll put another point into it. If I go to Act 3, I put another point. It's just it doesn't have very much health, is the reasoning why. And if you see when I go down here, it's 60, 78, 96. It's not major, but it's just helping it out a little bit. Um, After we hit level 24, you have two choices. You can either keep going. If you like fire, you can just keep going to 30, or even if you feel like it, you could try Nightmare and do the maggot layer. I personally hate fire. It's a little bit too random for me, so I like to switch over to wind at level 24. And what I do is right at level 24, I'll put one into Vape Nation. I like to put 5 into Cyclone Armor, and I just leave it there for a while. 7 into Twister just to boost up your Tornado. 1 point into Tornado. And then I just go down, get Raven, Doggo, Summon Direwolf, and then I put 3 points to Oak Sage. Now, at this point, I am putting a point into. You'll have about 5 points remaining. I will put a point into Tornado every time I level up. As soon as I unlock Hurricane, I put a point into Tornado and one into Hurricane until I run out of extra points. Um, and then I just max out Tornado. I also, at level 30, I put 1 point into Bear, into Grizzly. He's a very good tank. He's going to survive way longer. Like, if you look, he's got 975 life. He's going to survive way longer than any of these others. That doesn't mean Spirit Wolves are useless. I do like using them for pulling in the cow level. Like, you can just summon them in each corner and it will pull the whole thing. If you run from them, the cows will see the dog, and the dog will run to you and they will follow the dog. So you can just pull the whole level. I like Spirit Wolves for that, and then I just switch to Summon Grizzly. Obviously, they're good in PvP too. But yeah, anyways, I max Tornado, and I put all the extra points I can into Hurricane. And then at level 40, my build looks like this. I don't really touch these too much. I don't touch summoning at all. We will eventually touch Oak Sage, but yeah, I'll get Tornado maxed first. Hurricane is usually like around 6, depending on the skills quests you did. I'm sorry. You want to max Tornado. You're gonna then max Hurricane. You're gonna max Twister, and then at this point, you're gonna start noticing you're a little bit squishy. You can you can start doing Oak Sage and Cyclone Armor at the same time, or you can just max Cyclone Armor and then max Oak Sage last. It is up to you. I personally max Cyclone Armor, but I will tell you now, you will hit a bit of a wall going from Nightmare to Hell, because you'll be fine versus Elemental, but melee is gonna just take you out. So it's up to you if you're okay with farming a little bit in Nightmare before going over to Hell, or if you want to just go straight in, try to level up Oak Sage more, because that's what's keeping you out of Hell, and your resistance is being low. Okay, so that is the skill points. Let's go over gearing now. Sorry, pardon this mess. So for normal, basically all the gear you're picking up, everything is resistance gear. That's what you want. You really want you want to be picking that up every time you're in town. You want to be shopping and looking. It's like, hey, this guy's got a 30 fire res gloves. Like, have 3 sets in your armor, or sorry, not your armor, 3 sets in your stash. One for fire, one for cold, one for lightning, and just have every piece of gear that you don't have a rune word that you're never gonna switch out. So like your gloves, rings, belts, that kind of stuff. Have different sets for the resistances, and you're gonna thank yourself later for doing that, because every time you get an upgrade, you're gonna be like, oh my god, my fire resistance is broken. Like, oh, I'll just go grab those gloves I saved. Like, just trust me, just get started on that as soon as possible, and all throughout normal, you should be doing this. Not too much to say on normal. It's just kind of you can do it with garbage. It's moving over to Nightmare though. Nightmare is, again, you need that teleport staff. The reasoning you need a teleport staff is the maggot lair. Once you're wind, you can't do it. Like, you actually can't do maggot lair as a wind druid by yourself. As soon as you cast a tornado, it hits the wall. So you need to be shopping Act 3 or later normal for a teleport staff. Try to get one if you can. Another alternative is a raw unique axe called Spell Steal. It has teleport charges and it has Decrepify. I wouldn't trade for it, but if you find it, keep it. It's really good. So anyways, continuing on, Nightmare. At this point, you should have been looking for a crystal sword in cows, normal. We're going to be using a spirit. It's a huge damage increase for you, 2 to all skills, 25 to 35 FCR, I believe it was, and it gives you a ton of mana, and I really like the mana. That's your weapon. For your helmet, we're going to be looking at either a nice pelt that you found, like a rare one, that's like, oh wow, this has resistances on it and skills, like that's good, or find just a white base that has like a couple points in tornado or whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least get tornado or oak sage and put lore in it, and that's going to give you +1 to all skills, and then the tornado, and then it'll give you some resistances too, which is pretty solid. For the amulet, if you found one, awesome. If not, it is what it is. But if you found like a skiller amulet for a druid, that's great, use it. If not, you're just using resistance amulets to fill in gaps. For the armor, we're going to be using either stealth, depending on what runes you have, and that gives you faster run, walk, cast. That's really all you're getting here. It's just the run and cast and the FHR. Or if you found the runes in a better base, what you can be using is a smoke. And the reason we use a smoke, is because it gives you 50 to all resistances. That's like major, guys. Like, that's really good. You want 50 all res. For the shield, you want to be using. You should have had the little buckler from Act 1, or a skull shield from Act 2 Drognin with faster chance to block, and you should have about 30 to 40% chance to block. So put a couple points into dexterity to at least keep it at that. And then in nightmare or in normal, whenever you can, you want to actually switch over to rhyme in a skull shield or turtle nest or whatever. It just at this base has a high chance to block, and this gives it increased chance to block, faster block rate, and it's going to give you 25 all res, which is like that's awesome, and cannot be frozen, which is also awesome. And the good thing about this shield is you can actually use it late game. You can keep it on your swap with like a gold dagger or like an Alibaba or whatever you found with MF on it. And this will be the shield, and it'll have 25 MF, and you just swap to it when you're about to kill the boss, and it'll help with your drops. Um, and then for the rest, it's nightmare. With the gloves, rings, belts, boot. You just got out of normal. You're not gonna have too many awesome drops. So just keeping with the resistances that you're hoarding, like the rings and the belts and the boots, all that. You're just hoarding those. Um, Moving over to hell. Now again, there is going to be a bit of a wall. Usually that wall going from nightmare to hell is you don't have a good oak, or you skipped out on blocking, and you have a low level compared to the area level, and the monsters just like take you out. So try to have decent block. Try to have resistances too. Obviously, try to have really good resistances for hell. Try to have your oak good, and over level a little bit, and you will be able to do hell. But those are usually the things that are keeping you out, and you may have to farm a bit in cows, get a couple lucky drops, and you'll be able to move over. Anyways, moving over to hell, the gear we're gonna start looking at is if you can find it or trade it. Get a suicide branch. If not, you can keep your spirit, but we want this suicide branch because it's got, I mean, you lose a skill point from the spirit, but it has $1 skills, 50 faster cast. This life is really good because the oak applies its modifier to that. So that's a lot more than 40% life. Sorry, 40 plus life that it's got there. And then 10 all res too. You can use this for a very long time. It's actually a swap for PvP items, so you will never get rid of this, and they are dirt cheap if you're trading. The 50 FCR and the life is huge for a druid. For the helmet, if you can find it or trade it, we're looking for a Jalal's. You don't have to worry about the shape shifting, but this is also a helmet that is dirt cheap, and you will use it forever. Like it is very very good. Even on my druid I had that was just super geared to the tits, I still use the Jalal's as a swap sometimes, and that is because it has, where are you hiding? 30 FHR on it. 2 to druid skills, like the strength helps with equipping a lot of things. 30 all, I guess it's really good, guys. Just get one. You'll basically use it forever. And you can socket it and put things like shales in it if you need the FHR or whatever. For the shield, we're actually going to be trying to swap out your little rhyme. And here's the thing, if you swap out the rhyme and you get a spirit, at that point you need to respec and take out all of the decks and pump it into life. And you should be doing this when your oak is very strong. Like you should have a lot of levels in it, because you're now removing the block layer and you're moving over to having just a super tanky druid. Like they will get a ton of life, these guys. A well geared druid, it's very easy for them to get at least 5k HP with a call to arms. Like mine with all lifers I had was 7k. Like if as long as your oak is getting there and you have a spirit, and this is in hell, you'll have this now. This is when you'll get a monarch is in hell doing pit runs. You can switch over from block to life at that point. What are we missing here? For the armor, you're still gonna be using smoke. Honestly, this armor is end game. Like if you didn't switch out your stealth, you need to. You need to get this. It's for hell. It's too much resistance to not have. That is going to be your armor. For the gloves, You have either two choices here. You can use Mage Fist, which has mana regen. It's pretty cool, and we're after the faster cast rate. Or my preference is Triangles. They have the same cast rate, but the neato thing about these guys is they have cold resistance, and yeah, like cold resistance is really any resistance is good. Like the more the better. For your belt, you have a few options. You can have like a gold wrap. You can have a rare one with neato mods on it and resistance. But if I find these guys, I like to use an Immortal Kings. The reasoning is you're trying to get 156 strength in hell anyways, so that 110 strength kind of doesn't matter. It gives you 25 strength, which helps a lot with getting your spirit, and that translates into life. And it gives you double res. Like they're not very expensive at all. Your fire resistance is usually garbage because it's not on a spirit. It's just a solid belt, honestly. For the rings, we're actually FCR capped, so we are not capped, but we hit the 99 breakpoint. So you have 50 on Suicide Branch. You should have at least 29 on your shield, and then you'll have 20 on your gloves, and that'll be 99 unless my math is horrendous. But it's 99 there. So you don't actually need FTR rings at this point, so you can just keep your resistance rings, or if you find Nito MF rings, you can use those, like Nagel rings, whatever. They go well if you use a gold wrap instead of an IK, and your resistances are fine. That's pretty much it for the rings. You're not gonna have anything nice when you just get into hell. Moving over to the boots, Alders, bro, like Alders is very very good for druids. The reasoning is obviously 40 faster run, 50 life that the oak is going to boost, and then we're looking at this 50 fire res that's covering up the hole that spirit has. Some honorable mentions are going to be water walk. Those are more of a PvP item. The reasoning is they can have up to 65 health on them. You don't care about these for PvE that much. It's more for like those guys that want like I want 7k health. Like okay, you need water walks. Um, Other options for PvP again, you don't really need this, but you can use them in PvM is F Sandstorm Treks. The reason people grab these is because they have I believe they have Dex. I don't have the thing in front of me, but they have FHR on them as well and Strength. These are just like a step below getting godly rares with faster hit recovery on them and multiple resistances. Uh, so those are options. Personally, just get an alders. Don't worry too much about that other stuff. Just get alders. They're good. They're cheap. They'll do the job forever. I basically never take those off my druid. And that should be it for about the armor. We gotta look at the mercs, and we went from normal to hell for the players, so we're gonna go normal to hell for the mercs. You have two choices for these guys. Um, you can use either an Act 2 Nightmare Town Guard with Holy Freeze, or you can use an Act 5 normal Barbarian. And you're probably like, what? Why would I use a Barbarian? And we'll just dive into why in a moment. We're gonna start off though with the Act 2 merc. So basically, it's for a normal merc. Like you're probably gonna laugh. Like remember to put gear on them. You know what I mean? Like, like you don't. They're not really gonna have anything. Just remember to put high defenses on them. Give them a weapon that has life steal. Like they want a lot of life steal and they want it to hit kind of hard. Um, like it's all you're really gonna find in normal. You're not even gonna keep this merc if you're going for the Act 2 Nightmare merc. If you go for the Act 5 merc, you can try to be a little bit nicer with his gear, but like the rogues, like it doesn't. Just remember to put a bow on them. Um, Going into Nightmare though, this is when you will start to actually get gear, and you'll start to actually need your merc a little bit more. Some items that I suggest if you're using the Act 2 one is if you find it, it's called a Blood Thief. It just has a ton of life steal on it, and it has health, which they really like, and it open wounds. That scales with the merc's level for the damage it does. This is, if you find it, it's a pretty solid weapon to put on a merc in like normal to nightmare. A helmet, again, if you find it, it's called Steel Skull. It gives them a little bit of IAS, life steal again. And if they get the last hit on a monster, their MF applies to it. This is a good helmet. It's not worth a whole lot. Maybe you'll get it in like a free game, or you'll Mephisto or something will drop it. You can just give it to your merc. The armor, you can use either Crow's Claw or Tooth Row. Nothing super spectacular here. The thing we're after is the open wounds, because that scales with the character's level, not whatever item your merc is using, because they don't have a good weapon, right? So it's just kind of, we just want them to somehow do damage, and that is how they will do it. This is for Nightmare. Now, once you get into Hell, you need your merc needs to help you. So you have to start looking into making them better. Now, we have my personal preference. I like using Gwillem's face. I probably said that wrong. I just call it G face. Um, it's really good because it has crushing blow. This is the main reason I use this. And the crushing blow, we just basically how we're building the merc is because we need them to decrepify. We're gonna need them to attack as fast as possible, right? So we have an on chance hit of crushing blow, which will take a fraction of the monster's health away, and open wounds, which will put a dot on them, scaling with the merc's level. These are just ways to do a lot of damage based on your attack speed, and that meshes really well with us trying to proc decrep. Building on that, since we want them to attack as fast as possible, we're going to be using Treachery. The reasoning for this is because it has 45 IAS. For a Barbarian, their regular attack speed is the breakpoint on a Phase Blade to get 4.5 is 45 IAS. For a Act 2 Merc to hit Jab, their 4.5 their breakpoint, you need 75. So we use Treachery because it has a ton of attack speed on it. It also has chance to cast Fade. What Fade does is it'll basically max out the merc's resistances. It will give them damage reduction, and then it makes curses fall off them quickly. This isn't the main reason we're using it. We're using it for the IAS, but this makes them very tanky, the Fade, if it gets on them. Now, looking at the Barbarians, the weapon they use is called a Lawbringer. Whoopsie doodle. It's called a Lawbringer. We're using this because it has a chance to cast Decrepify, 20% chance, as well as these guys have Sanctuary on them. And what that means is any undead around them, they take damage, they get knocked back, but it also removes their damage reduction. And undeads have a lot of physical damage reduction, and this is a very good choice for a Barbarian. We put this in a Phase Blade to hit the 45 IAS breakpoint. The only thing with a Barbarian is the reason I personally don't like them very much is they try to bash and stun a little bit too much, and that is a much slower IAS frame where the Act 2 mercs will always they try to they jab a lot, like they will always be trying to jab. So that's the kind of trade-off you get there. For the Act 2 mercs, the weapon they want to use, it's called a Reaper's Toll. You really want to get it Eth if you can, but if you can't, it's not the end of the world. Here we go, just get it up on the screen here. It's a Reaper's Toll, and these guys have 33% chance to cast Decrep, and that's more than Lawbreaker. Or Lawbringer, I'm sorry. It also has lifesteal built into it. It's a pretty high amount. The Deadly Strike is nice as well. It's just all in all a very solid weapon. It's in a Thresher too, so it has a very fast attack speed profile. I like this more than the Barbarians. The other reason I like it is because the Act 2 mercs have Holy Freeze. Holy Freeze and Decrepify the slow stacks, so this is a very very strong defensive lair that this merc is offering you. Where the barbarian, the sanctuary is nice. It's more of an offensive barrier, offensive option. I prefer the merc to offer more defensive lairs to me. Um, so yeah, was a just to recap here. The Act 2 merc, treachery, G face. You socket it and put a 15 IAS jewel in it. Reaper's Toll, socket it and put a shale in it, and that will get you 75 IAS for the most accessible breakpoint these guys have and the fastest one. It will have Crushing Blow, a lot of lifesteal, and Decrep, and Deadly Strike. For the Barbarians, we want on the Lawbringer, this does have lifesteal too, so you don't have to worry too much about it, but we use the G-Face, and we're actually going to use a unique. And this unique is called Crow's Caw. It's in, I'll just grab it really quickly. Oh my god, there's so many photos of crows when I Google this. Okay, Crow's Caw. Oh, you want to upgrade this? Let me just get this up on the screen really quickly. This guy right here. And this guy has chance to open wounds, which is amazing. It has 15 IAS, and what you want to do is you want to upgrade this, and you want to socket it, and you're going to put a 15 IAS jewel in that, and you'll have that plus the 15 is 30. The barbarian needs 45, so you put a G face on him, socket the G face, so this guy right here, and then put a 15 in it, so you'll have 30, and then 15 with the G face, and then you have your Lawbringer. And then you'll have 45 IAS for the Phase Blade, and he will do 4.5 attacks per second, which is quite a lot if you would just stop bashing and stunning. But like, it's still quite a lot, and you will proc Decrepify, and you will have Sanctuary, which is really good. So you do have some options. Obviously, everything on your merc you want it to be Eth if you can. If you can't, it's not the end of the world, but try to upgrade that when you can. Okay, so now you've got your mercs covered. We're going to be moving over to where do I MF now that I have a decently geared druid. And the places to MF are going to be the pit, the mausoleum, cows, chaos sanctuary, Pindle, Shank, and Eldritch. And this is what you want to do. You go to the outer cloister waypoint. You go out the doors and you see a dirt trail. You just follow the little trail, and then it will take you to the pit. Clear it, go to Stony Fields, try to find the trail or the portal if it's right next to you. Follow the little dirt trail until you find the portal, because it'll always spawn near it or close to it. Go in, get words like do cows. Come out, go to the cold plains. Look to see, like right next to cold plains is gonna be Bloody Moor, right? So you know it's not gonna be there. Look on your map and see where Stony Field is, because you've discovered it at this point, and then you know, okay, so in these undiscovered areas in the corner of the map, that's where Blood Raven's gonna be. You're gonna go to one of those corners, and then you're gonna look for Mausoleum, and then you're gonna do that because it's level 85, that area. And then the last thing you do, just to finish it up, go kill Pindle. He's just in his little portal. And then go take the Bloody Hills waypoint and kill Eldritch. He's above the waypoint, and then go down and kill Shank. He's just below it. And you can MF these areas very easily without an Enigma, and they're perfectly fine. Like you can do this as a druid. You don't have to be a sorc. And that's just about it, really. Honestly, that's about everything you know to get everything you need to know to get started on playing a druid in Diablo 2 and MFing it and doing a ladder start with it if you don't want to play a sorc. I hope this helps somewhat, guys. And if you have any questions or concerns, just fire them away in the comment, and I'll be happy to help as best I can. All right, that's everything. Have a good one, folks.